go over it, though. I'm going to make a motion. Mm-hmm.
Do that all in one fell swoop.
Huh?
What you say,
Okay. We're going to go ahead and get started. We're going to have to start over on the 07 and 08. We're going to have to reconsider our actions on the 08 budget and the 07. And due to the Senate position, they were going to take a position that the House obviously didn't like, so we're going to start the budget process again for the 07 and the 08. So I'd like to make a motion. We can reconsider our actions on the 08 and the 07, and I'd like to put that in the form of a motion.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Motion passed. Okay, we've got some, I know, Ken, you're here. Ken, you want to go ahead and get started? Economic development. Any other commissioners here that I didn't see? Yeah, I did see, okay. So we have two commissioners. I guess Bobby Harris and Mike Snow representing the Department of Ag. And Dr. Myers is here, I know. Okay.
Would you like for us to start with 07?
Please. And that's all we really need to work on, because right now we're on hold on the 08. So
The tracking document that we're looking at is House Bill 94.
correct. Correct.
Thank you. Can you hear me now? These are funds for the operations of the Hurdy Advanced Materials Center. $630,000. The next item is in 22.7. There's actually several items there. One of those is for the Civil War commemoration preparation and the Resaca battlefield development. There's $5 million in the governor's budget is what we support. This total amount of this project is $8.75 million. And $5 million is being requested because $3.75 million of the total will come from matching funds, including some private sources. And if you look at the total base of the $8.75 million, 5.75 is for the Resaca field site itself, $750,000 for the sesquicentennial planning, and 1.35 marker program, and $900,000 for work on other Civil War sites around the state. The next item is, next couple of items actually are ones that have been put in our budget and have been spoken to from others. One is the Civil War Heritage Trails Project, and another is Historic Chattahoochee Commission. Neither of these were in the governor's original recommendation. The next item there is the National Infantry Museum Project, the Georgia Voyager magazine, and then there's an item recently added, I think, that the Atlanta Zoo's new animal hospital proposal. That's $350,000. I talked today with Dennis Kelly from the Atlanta Zoo, and they're actually combining a couple of projects into that, but this is principally the design money to put there for the new animal hospital that they need there. The next item on the list is for Warner Robins Base Museum for $100,000, and then the again in the House version is some Wilkes County Fund money for the Regional Visitor Information Center for $2,500, and then there's amount of 27.7.9 for funds for the Tour to Georgia of $1 million. Mr. Chairman, would you just like me to continue going through these? Be glad to. 22.10, 10, are the payments to the Georgia Golf Hall of Fame. And this, of course, is to construct a facility there. As you may know, they have a park setting now, but no facility, and this is to continue their budget. That amount was, again, not included in the governor's original budget. The payments for the Georgia Music Hall of Fame has been an addition of $25,000 for them for continuing their activities, and $25,000 for the Georgia Sports Hall of Fame Authority, which are both fairly minor additions, but again for continuation funding. That completes what we have as additions in House Bill 94, Mr. Chairman.
Questions from the committee? I was going to ask Commissioner, the rail spur. I know that from what we were told, the Senate was going to strip all the dollars out. I assume you would be opposed to that for the Kia rail spur. They were going to strip it all out and pay it toward the indebtedness we had in the state, and we're pretty much committed to the Kia site, wouldn't you say?
We are committed to the site, and the timing of the payment is to a great extent dependent on when the rail site construction or the rail spur construction begins, and we're very far along with the design of that construction, and we're 98% complete with the site itself, and so the rail construction can begin really at any time, and we're not in control of that. So we, again, are back to our original budget position that it's the right thing to have it in 07 amended so that we have the flexibility to spend it when the money is due.
Okay. Chairman Tommy Smith.
Given the importance of this project, do you have any idea why the Senate would want to take it out of the budget?
No, sir, I don't. Sure don't.
Thank you.
Smith.
Have y'all, when y'all met with the Senate, or have you met with the Senate on any of the 07?
We have.
Did projects such as the rail spur, did that come up when you were meeting with the Senate? I mean, was there any discussion about that, or I'm just trying to find out what happened over there.
We went and we explained just what I explained to you to the Senate, and the Senate asked in the committee asked questions about a number of items. Is that when would the funds be due, or when could they be due?
And you told them at the proper time it might come due before July 1 or whenever the project's ready.
I'm trying to be very careful to give answers both the same and all the truth every single time.
No, I understand. I'm not trying to put you on the spot.
No, I don't feel on the spot. Thank you, because
I think we're on the spot, so that's the reason we're trying to figure out
the timing. The timing again is when the construction of the spur begins, and that's when our money is due, and so we won't certainly meet our obligations.
That's fine. Well, as they progress, how far the grading goes and when the grade is through. Thank you.
Okay. You don't oppose any of the projects we put in there, do you, Commissioner?
Which projects are you referring to?
Any of them?
I'm actually, I stand here fully in support of the governor's budget, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. He's in the executive branch, too, if I remember right.
When I took that class, I think that's where I found the governor as well.
Any other questions from anybody? Thank you for being here. We'll call you on the 08 as well again.
Okay. Thank you.
We're just trying to figure out which way we go from here.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you for being here. Let's see. Soil and Water, Brent, you want to come on up? And yeah, in just a minute. We got Bobby Baker in here now, so.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, we did not have any changes in 07, and no special projects were added, but I'll be glad to answer any question in the 07 amended.
So we didn't add anything?
No, sir. Not to my knowledge, unless something's changed.
Anybody have any questions, Soil and Water? You didn't add anything in the 08 either, did you?
No, we moved some funds around, but we did not have any ads.
That was just language, though, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Just moved it around.
All right. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Chairman Smith, I'll let you take over here for a minute. I'll be back.
Okay, former Representative Snow, you want to come up and let's do ag?
Mr. Chairman, I'd rather defer to Bobby Harris, maybe Dr. Myers. We got Sherry Forster, our budget analyst. Maybe she needs to probably explain.
Thank you.
All of us put together.
Good to see you,
Good to see you, Mr.
Representative Snowman. All right. Yes, ma'am.
Chairman, thank you. I guess I got the short straw this time. The only changes that we had from the governor's recommendation is funding that, actually two changes. One of them is some money that y'all added for Homeland Security. I would like to start out by saying that we do appreciate the governor's recommendation for $250,000 to allow us to replace some high-mileage vehicles that we have. These are for inspectors that are out in the field around the state of Georgia doing a variety of consumer protection activities. We appreciate his recommendation. We appreciate the House agreeing to that, and also the $57,199 that y'all recommended to help us start a Homeland Security. We are currently performing those duties, but they are done by existing employees. It's taken away from their food safety, their animal protection, animal industry duties. So having these funds to help us start this is greatly needed. We appreciate your consideration on that. The only other item does not involve any money, but it does involve some language regarding some bonds concerning some labs construction design, actually not construction, but design of a lab building and the location of that building. That's really, I think, all that I have to say. We'll be happy to answer any questions that y'all might have.
Thank you, ma'am. Appreciate that. Any questions by any members of the committee? Okay, thank you. Appreciate it. We'll come back to the 08 a little later. Mr. Baker, well, you want let's go ahead and do PSC. Is that good with you, Bob?
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. We're doing 2007, right? Okay. I'll just reiterate our budget request again to approve the governor's recommendation for rent adjustment of $54,346, and that's just rent payment to Georgia Building Authority. We've got to pay them, or they're going to get fussy with us about not paying our rent. We'd also ask the committee to authorize another $56,000 to the commission for cost for reprogramming office space for our transportation division that we re-inherited back after the breakup of the Department of Motor Vehicles. We would also appreciate the committee's consideration of replacing the $100,000 that had been taken out of the additional $100,000 that had been taken out of our budget and put that back in for administrative services and for costs. If y'all have any questions regarding any matter, I'd be glad to try to answer them for you.
Okay. Representative Smith.
Mr. Chairman, I'm trying to follow what we've added on this. Does it show it on this document here, what we've added earlier? Okay.
Anybody else have Representative Lunsford?
Reduction, Mr. Chairman, where we had reduced. Mr. Baker, are you okay with this House version where we did the reduced funding for operations, where we assume we redirected some funds from someplace else? Did you see that on there?
If you could point that out to me on which line.
38.1.1.
The $15,460 amount.
No, we're probably looking at a different version. This one's showing I believe it's 100,000. Okay.
Okay. Well, I'm looking at 38.1.1, and it is indicating administration transfer funds from the administration program to facilities protection program to properly align real estate expenditures among programs.
We're on a different version. That's okay, Mr. Baker. Thank you, sir.
Okay. Could you? Oh, thank you. Let's see. All right, here we go. $100,000. We definitely would like to request that be replaced and put back into the our administration operational budget. Those are funds that are already are earmarked, and we're going to have to make some serious changes in our operation if they aren't replaced. So we'd appreciate any consideration that you could offer to replace those funds back into our budget again.
Mr. Chairman. One more thing, Mr. Baker. I don't know if you're aware, but I think some people on your staff are. We dropped a couple pieces of legislation this week to try to help concerning the Universal Service Fund. And
Yes, sir.
You probably don't have them yet. They're in second readers in the House, and we're hoping to work with your agency over the summer. And one of them allowed for us to remove the actual salaries and cost of the personnel associated with pipeline inspection, et cetera, and allowed you to pay that out of the Universal Service Fund rather than us allocating from the state treasury for that, because it is directly related to your Universal Service Fund, which is directly related to gas pipelines. So that would allow you some flexibility with your personnel. Are you up to speed on that? Or have they briefed you on that?
Well, let's just say I was made aware of it yesterday, but I was not aware. I thought, based on what I was told, that it was going to be allowing us to supplement our current budget allocation for pipeline safety inspectors to hire additional inspectors using the Universal Service Fund. I didn't realize that it was being seen as a way to take out all of the funding that's currently in our budget and use the Universal Service Fund to...
No, it's not.
Okay.
Actually, it won't be going to effect until next year. We'd just like, between now and next year, for y'all to review that and make sure the language would match up with something y'all can work with. Could be used for future expansion or to supplement what you're currently using.
Okay.
So we're hoping it could be another tool that y'all could use in the interim, but we have a full year to work on it.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
Appreciate it.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you, Mr. Baker.
Thank
Appreciate
you,
it.
Chairman. Thank you very much.
Yes, sir. How about DCA? Somebody here from DCA? Yeah. Okay.
Mr. Chairman, our 07 amended budget request, there's a couple, I guess, more major things in there. First is 16.3.1 under the coordinating planning program. That's $1.3 million to process the local update of change addresses or census addresses on behalf of the census that's coming up, as we know, in the next little bit here, a couple of years. It's important to get an accurate count, both from representation from the state and also federal funding. And then down in state economic development, we have $300,000 for REBA, and that's going from the BRAC process, the local redevelopment authorities that are working to redevelop bases at McPherson, Gillum, and also the Navy Supply School in Athens. And also in that same program, 16.13.2 is the $40 million plus for the Kia plant. And I'll be happy to answer any questions you might have.
I may like to ask you the same thing I asked Commissioner Stewart, what kind of conversation you might have had with the Senate appropriations on that railroad spur, and if you have anything you could enlighten us with on that.
I really don't, sir. I don't recall having a conversation in the Senate when we were there. I was not testifying at that point in that hearing, but I don't recall one being had at that point.
Was the commissioner the one testifying in the Senate? Or?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I can check with the commissioner then.
Certainly.
Okay. Any questions from the members of the committee? Mr. Chairman? Okay. That sounds good. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Forestry. Yes, sir.
Chairman, members, we appreciate addressing the board. We did have a few changes that were made by the House. The $569,080 for the 3 tractors and 24 environmental cabs. We have taken steps to ensure that we could do this, so we've actually called the factory, John Deere factory. So those things are in the process, but it is going to be difficult to make those purchases towards the end of the year. They're in line to do that. As a matter of fact, DOS purchasing department has set up a contract for crawler tractors, so that was in place. We were ready to do that. But we stand, at what your physical needs are. We understand that. Also on we'd like for you to consider also the zero changes of just moving funds within the department. Other than that, those were the changes we had in amended 07.
Okay, Chairman Smith.
These crawlers, tell us a little bit about what exactly they do.
The crawler tractors suppress wildfires.
And they're pretty vital to you.
They're very vital to our operations. This is how we put out the wildfires across the state. The 800-acre plus fire that we had in Waycross yesterday. I mean, if you don't have crawler tractors, you don't suppress wildfires without the crawler tractors.
Do you know what the Senate position is on this?
Sir, we addressed them this morning. Their questions were, can you postpone these for 30 days? And
Postpone what?
Postpone the purchase of the crawler tractors for 30,
Are they willing to put money in the supplemental budget for this?
What I was told this morning is that they're willing to put this into 08.
Well, it's needed in 07, isn't it?
We need it. We need it in the continuation budget.
I mean, with all this dry weather we're having, looks to me like, it's almost borders on an emergency to me.
Yes, sir, it does. The one thing that's interesting about this point is that, our contention, and we support the governor's budget, and without these funds, we're positioning ourselves to hold our equipment money and our vehicle money and also holding position money in the event that we do run short because of wildfires.
You were talking to the equipment company. To make it clear, would it be feasible if you had the dollars, could you buy those 3 crawler tractors equipped like you want them between now and June 30th? Could they deliver by June 30th?
They couldn't deliver, no, sir.
How about the environmental calves? Could they deliver a certain quantity of those?
Those will not be delivered. We'd have to change our plans with that and renege on our negotiations we've made to this point, though.
So you wouldn't be able to do it between now and the 1st?
No, we would be able to do, we had the 10 tractors ordered. We're not going to be able to do 6, but we could do 4. And then the other tractors we're fixing to order, we would place those with the orders.
Anybody else?
Thank you.
Department of Transportation. How you doing, buddy?
Pretty good, Chairman. This may end up being a tag team effort like usual between me and Mr. Moffis. But,
Mr. Moffis, Ms. Sandra.
What the changes you all made from the governor's proposed budget, you added about $6 million, and most of that went for the airport aid, in addition to the $6 million that we already had in the existing 07 budget. One of the major changes was the facilities. The $5.1 million was removed underneath your proposed budget, and that money was put toward LARP as well as the State Road and Toll Authority paying back some more bonds, to assist in the sound barrier construction. The one thing I would like to point out about the LARP or off-system roads, and I've certainly heard it from this committee that we want to do more for off-systems, and so does the department. But this particular budget for 07, we've got about $124 million set up for off-system work. It's the highest it's ever been, and I'd like the House to consider that as well.
That $5.1 million that we cut out for the maintenance, and I'd like to publicly say, I guess we did before, Chairman Rogers and I went around and saw those with Mr. Moffis and Gordon. What would you say if we could take $5.1 million out of the own road system? What would that do to you if we could reduce that $53.5 million and take 5.1 and put in that line item for your facilities? Would you have any heartache about that?
Well, the only heartache is I think we've explained to you before, we're down to the lowest amount percentage-wise of resurfacing our on-system roads. Typically the department likes to do about 10%. And right now, we've already spent all the money allocated for 07, and we did about 2.8% of our system. So we're falling pretty far behind, and we're just trying to forewarn you, that if we don't hurry up and catch up, we're going to be in trouble here in about 4 or 5 years.
So would you think it'd be wise to just leave that amount out and wait and put it in 08 or, I'm just asking what you think.
Well, I think if you're asking the between the facility money and the state-funded construction, we have needs in both areas, and we certainly would continue to support the governor's recommended budget.
Okay. Chairman Smith.
Mr. Chairman, if I'm reading it right, and what I'm hearing, we added $6 million to airports. Is that right? $6 million. Is that what we added to airport? And that, and of course, $4,700,000 to LARC. I was reading in the paper about where the Senate was not going to go along with a lot of, didn't basically want to add too much. What is their position on those two items? Do you know?
Both the $6 million, as far as under the $4.7 million too, as well. They decided to go back to the governor's budget. Is that correct? That is correct. So both the $6 million and 4.7, they opted not to do those two items.
They didn't want to put it in there.
That is correct, sir.
Mr. Chairman, I hope we will hold fast on that. That money is vital to rural Georgia and to economic development. I mean, we talk about wanting a whole state to be one Georgia, and yet these airports are vital, particularly to rural parts of the state. And I can't understand why anybody would oppose that, but I hope we'll hold fast on particularly those two items.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. On that, did the Senate say they were going to stick to the governor's budget, or did they going to strip the governor's part out of the budget too, that 5.1?
They were going to leave the 5.1 the way I understood it. I have to apologize. I didn't make that meeting Monday, but that's the way I understand it.
Correct, Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
We're going to go ahead and leave, according to how we left it, the facilities like they were, and they were not going to have the airports.
So therefore, they're just picking and choosing. They're not stripping 100% out. They're just stripping out things they want. And I'm just trying to find out because I hadn't asked them. I think I might get a straighter answer asking y'all. And y'all can tell them I said that if you want.
Well, the bottom line, I think they ended up with the governor's budget.
Yeah, they can watch it on TV. Okay, that's good. Any questions? Anybody else? Thank you, Mr. Grad. Appreciate it. Anybody like to say anything? Did I miss anybody? I'm going through my list here. Anybody want to say anything? Now's the time. Speak up. Feel free. I think what we'll probably do is wait, and Chairman Rogers will probably send out a notice and do the 08, since we just strictly went down 07, and I know some of them may have left. And so why don't we do that? I think we'll have some time, and we'll just send you a notice, and we'll come back and we'll talk about 08 after we decide 07. Appreciate everybody's attendance.